Your creativity sets you apart from other writers. It gives you a competitive advantage. It makes writing easier for you. And one of the things you have to learn to do is to put into expression your creative consciousness when you write. It's important. You are going to conduct different experiments and assays in the lab. Some of these things will be difficult for people to understand if you are not creative in the way you present it. So it's key for people to understand that one of the key things that can guide your effectiveness in terms of writing is your creative ability. This is important for all of us to know. Academic writing is not poetry. So you can't play with words. It's not poetry. It's not like you are trying to put words together. So you have to go straight to the point. You have to say specifically what you had in mind to express. You have to tell the story the way it is. Sometimes you don't have to use too many words to explain your concept. It is not poetry. It's not just an ordinary writing. It is, you need a lot of expertise. And that is why I think this talk is very important. So it's not poetry. You can't play on words. You can't start using words and put them together. And you know those words that people put together, and the ideologies of an effacement is humanity to man. When you believe in your strength, you get your rent, and your words will help your health, and stuff like that. People put a lot of words together that you realize it doesn't beautify the concept of academic writing. Or should I say, it doesn't support the standard of academic writing. So because you can't play on words and you have to go straight to the point, you have to focus on relevance. You need to use words that are very relevant to the concept you are trying to project or clarify, or the impression you are trying to communicate. It is not about size. Usually, sometimes people focus on size. Although, based on university standard, publication or journal standard, they give you specific numbers of words to write, which is good. That, in a way, help you to moderate unnecessary excesses. But you should understand that the first thing is not about the size. It's more about relevance. So if relevance is key to you, you will use appropriate words, appropriate terms, and you put everything together. Okay. And there are technical things you have to focus on if you want to write. People lose out on this technicality. So the first thing I want to mention is write short sentences and words. Sometimes when you see people's sentences, it's about 4 or 5 lines. No full stop, no comma, no semicolon, no colon, nothing. Just 5 lines, 6 lines of a sentence. That is terrible. It could sometimes make you to make so many mistakes. It can make you make mistakes. So don't write long sentences. Write short sentences. Use words that are appropriate. And you have to structurally organize your paragraph. I'm going to talk about this soon. Short sentences. Your intention is you are writing for the sake of relevance. It has to be important, not impressive. Sometimes people want to impress you with what they write. That's okay if it's just writing outside the academic sphere. But most importantly, academic writing is not to impress people. You are only trying to impress a concept, and it has to be solid. Number 2, delete words like both, the, that, of. Sometimes when you look at people's sentences, in one sentence they have words like the, or what they call the. You have about 5, 6 in one sentence. Most of the times, these are unnecessary. People have of, they have about 4, 5 in a sentence. When you read that sentence in the concepts and context of structural arrangement, when you have of about 5, 6, 7 of in a sentence, it's too much. So look at the sentence again, read it over and over again, and remove some of this. People use that, about 4, 5 in a sentence. Read the sentence again and remove this from the sentence. These are called particles. They are particles because when you remove them from the sentence, they don't affect the meaning of the sentence. When you remove them from the sentence, the original meaning of the text or what you intend to communicate is still in expression, or you are still maintaining what you intend to communicate. It's still being maintained. So why do you need those words there? Because the meaning is clear, we can understand it. So those words are not necessary. And sometimes people use both unnecessarily. So you want to talk about A and B. Don't say both A and B. Just say A and B. Remove the both. Because the moment you say A and B, it's fine. But people still go ahead and say both A and B. When you say A and B, what you put after it will determine if you are talking about the two of them together. Because you have used a conjunction, and A and B. Don't say both Olu and Hola. No. Don't say both Johnson and Smith. Just say Johnson and Smith. And you go ahead with whatsoever you are trying to express. So be careful of those adjectives. People misuse most. They misuse most. And usually they are trying to qualify maybe the particular sentence or the key subjects. They want people to see the level of importance. Usually in academic writing, you have to be careful when you say most. People say most important. Just say important. Putting most there, it doesn't add additional value to the importance. Just say important. So. Just say important. Don't say most important. Because usually we want people to see that it has a lot of value. And adding most to it doesn't add that value to it. People use words like major. Be careful of some adjectives and adverbs that are not necessary. I'll give you an example. Usually people use impact. They will say impact of a particular extract on the growth kinetic of a particular parasite. When you use impact is close-ended. You have to use it with effects. What I mean by effect, not the word effect. What it means is, when you say impact of something, are you saying the impact has to be positive or negative, or it has to be that it's increasing something, it's decreasing something? And that has to be clear. Sometimes when you use the word like significant, when you say significant, we are looking out for statistical orientation, statistical value. What is the p-value? But that is not your intention. You're only making it like it is very important. The data is great. The data is nice. and you want people to value it, and you say it's significant. You can't just use the word significant just anyhow. You have to use it based on statistical orientation and support. The third thing I want you to know is there are words that are redundant. Avoid words that are redundant. Words, sentences that are redundant. So sometimes people use words like as previously described. That is not necessary. Just write what was described and put a reference in parentheses after it. Or put a reference in the brackets after it. Don't say as previously described. Just write what was described and reference it. Okay. Then words like as previously mentioned. All these are good when you are making presentations. May I need to also say here, sometimes people write as if they are talking. That is not academic writing. There are things that are allowed when you are making presentations that are not within the concepts of good writing, good academic writing. So people make this people make this mistake. They mix the two together. So they write as if they are talking. It is allowed for you to say, as previously mentioned, if you are making a presentation, or has been previously justified, or it has been previously justified at this. Sometimes when you are writing, just write what you want to write and put a reference after it. The moment we see that reference, we will know that it was previously mentioned. We will know that it was previously conducted. People say it has been reported that. Sometimes that could be allowed depending on the usage. But most importantly, is not necessary. Just write what was reported and acknowledge or cite a reference. That's all. Instead of saying it has been previously reported, it has been reported that, just write what was reported. Studies have shown that people allow that also, but it is the usage that is important. Just write what the study showed and put a reference there, instead of saying studies have shown that. Now, what I'm saying here is helping you to become a good academic writer. I'm not saying when you pick some of these articles, you won't still see these things there. These are common, these are like uncommon mistakes. People make these mistakes. It has become part of writing concepts or part of the writer's community. People use them, but in the sense of becoming a sound academic writer, all these statements are not necessary. In the literature, and the right. No, just write what was presented in the literature. Just say in the literature. People say in the literature. No. What we know you are doing is that you have reviewed the literature. You are trying to justify the essence and the purpose of all your own idea. Just tell us what the literature said. Don't say in the literature. All these are redundant words. When you remove them from the statement, you still maintain the original intent and meaning of that statement. Be careful of unnecessary content. It adds no value to your statement. So, for example, if you pick a paragraph that you wrote yourself, or a paragraph that a group of people wrote, look at it, read it again. Look out for some of these words that I mentioned. Look at these redundant sentences and underline them. And now read the paragraph again. Will it still make the meaning that the author intended? Yes. So why do we need those words there? It doesn't make you a smart and a thorough writer. So being a thorough writer, all these are not necessary. They add additional words to your paragraph. And imagine if you are writing a manuscript. You are drafting a manuscript, and they give you certain number of words. They say write 1,500 words. And this is the old thesis of a master's program for 2 years, for some people for 3 years. And they want you to put everything you have done in form of a manuscript, and it has to be 1,500 words, or it has to be 2,000 words. You will realize that all these words are not necessary, and it's going to guide you on the proper dealing with academic writing. Another technical thing you have to pay attention to is transitions. People use words like indeed. You have to be careful, because being a good academic writer, you don't need words like indeed. It has been said that. Some people use then, especially when they are doing description of their methods. Then we added this and this. After then we do this. After then we do this. Those words are not necessary. Just write the steps and bring them together meaningfully without using the word like then, indeed. You have to understand how to use the word however. People misuse however. Sometimes they start, although A is better than B, however, C is the best. You don't say that. So the moment you start with although, they don't advise you to make use of however. So if you start and say A is better than B, however, C is the best. So there's a way you can present it without using although and however together. You have to be careful. And there are instances when you look at a paragraph, people have like 5, 6 howevers. It's not necessary. You have to learn how to coin your words, how to phrase it to make meaning without using some of this. Then again, when you see a sentence and it is 5 lines, and that sentence is joined by end, and you see about 3, 4 ends there, break that sentence down into simpler sentences or clearer sentences. You have written a very long sentence. You have written A is better than B in the concept of the analysis, and C in the case of understanding the rationale is give us more value than D. And he now justify the concept. No, just break it down. You can just say A is better than B in the concept of our analysis, full stop. Also, C signify that there is a need for us to recheck or reevaluate our data. I said, break it down. Don't use end, about 4 ends in a sentence. Break it down. Be careful of using but. Instead of using but, they advise you to use however. A is better than B, but C is the best. They will ask you to make use of however. So it's more professional to use however, C is the best. You need to understand this. These words are transitional. They are helping you to connect your thoughts together or to transit from one sentence to another sentence or to another paragraph. Then you have to make use of what we call active statements. Active statements. Be careful of assumptions. The moment the studies have been conducted and you have references that can be cited, you can make it active. Don't say It is possible that A is better than B. However, C is the best. The study was conducted 2-3 years ago. So what you should do is, instead of saying it is possible, just say A is better than B. However, C is the best. And you reference it. That's all. So don't say it is possible, because they have conducted the study. They have confirmed that A is better than B, but C is the best. You don't have to say it is possible. Or people say it is assumed that A is better than B. No. It has been conducted and confirmed. The moment you know the study was conducted, they have data to justify that A is better than B and C was the best. Don't use passive statements. Passive statement is you are not sure. It is possible. By assumption, you are not sure. But the moment the study has been conducted, it has been validated, it has been confirmed, you have to use active statements. And this is key, is important. Sometimes when you are presenting your discussion section, it has been confirmed. You are trying to compare it to what you did. You need active statement. Sometimes when you are doing your literature review, you need active statements. You are not trying to reconfirm the idea or re-justify the idea. It has been justified. You are only using it as a means to guide your subject of interest, as the case may be. Be careful of irrelevant pluralization. Irrelevant pluralization. People pluralize words that are unnecessary. Some people use, instead of saying mice, M-I-C-E, they will say some mice. There is no some mice in academic writing. You don't use S-O-M-E, some water, some sterile distilled water was used. No. You can just say sterile distilled water was used, or the volume of the sterile distilled water. 500 mils of sterile distilled water was used. Don't say some media was, no. 5 grams of media was dissolved in 1 liter of water, or 1 liter of water, or 2 liters of water. Don't say some media was used. Some equipment was used. No. Mention the name of the equipment. Spectrophotometer was used for this assay. Don't say some equipment. So be careful of words like that. Some mouse. Just say mice. People use words that like dependent and depends. You have to be careful the way you use these words. Instead of saying something like it depends on, you can rephrase it professionally to use the word dependent instead. Instead of saying you have this A and B are the best. However, it depends on if C is available. You could say the dependence of the value of A and B is a function of C. Or the increase in the value of A and B is dependent on the function of C. So when you phrase it like that or frame it like that, it's more professional and it's trying to help you to think through your writing well, and it makes you thorough. Be careful of words like a total of something. Just write it. They will say a total of 500 samples were used. Just say 500 samples were used. Because the moment you say a total, it has in a way negates the essence of saying 500 samples. Just say 700 samples were used in this study. Don't say a total of 700 samples. people use the word like big in size. Don't say big in size or small in size. Just say big. The moment is big. That is size. So don't say A is